Welcome to our webinar on cryptocurrency regulations in Turkey. Today, as a EAK Digital team, we will do a new webinar series with the prominent speakers. Today, we will discuss the current state of the cryptocurrency regulations in Turkey and the potential developments we might see in the future with our expert and prominent guest, Tansel Kaya, Burçak Ünsal, Elçin Karatay, and Atakan Karataş. We will dive into Turkey's path and prospective route in this rapid growing sector as regulations. The first guest is the Elçin Karatay, who works in the managing partner at the Solok Partners and law firm. Welcome, the Elçin Karatay. How are you?
Thank you very much. I'm great. I hope you're too. How are you?
We are so happy to see the regulations results as soon as possible. That's why we are so wondering at the same time how it is. And also, welcome, Didi. How are you?
Hello. I'm good. I'm great, and a little bit excited about the upcoming regulations. And also, Elçin, we really would like to understand how will crypto regulations is going to affect our lives in terms of our projects and the global projects, not only regarding the exchange, but we are also very curious about what will happen about the projects who wants to dive into Turkey.
Sure. Let me try to help. Thank you again for everyone listening and for your organization and having me here. So let me try to first maybe explain what's currently in Turkey and what we expect to come. So for Turkey, we have seen through the last years, there are, bits and pieces of regulations going on, but we haven't seen a wide and comprehensive law adopted in the Turkish market. And we had some concerns related to how the cryptocurrencies will be regulated in the Turkish market. So as of now, although there are, again, small regulations, such as there is one regulations from the central bank, which is related to use of crypto assets in payments, which is a very limited regulation, to be honest. But we haven't seen any general regulation on crypto assets, on crypto asset service providers, unlike what we see in EU or other countries. So that is something that we have expected for a long time. Turkey also has a regulation on the AML KYC part of the issues, which is something that Financial Action Task Force actually recommends from its 2019 recommendations, and Turkey is a party of Financial Action Task Force. So we should abide by those recommendations. And there has been a change on our standard AML laws, which included crypto asset service providers to these laws. But again, this only puts an obligation on the crypto asset service providers to do KYC, basically know your customer procedures, to have suspicion activity reporting, and have some additional requirements provided under the AML laws, but still did provide a comprehensive legal approach. So what we have been waiting for a long time is a general way of regulating both virtual asset service providers, and virtual asset services. And that was what was expected. Unlike European Union, which has a lot of drafting processes, we unfortunately do not have an official draft published, but several of our ministers has shared their views that they want to adopt this law at the end of January. So we passed end of January, but we still expect a law to be enacted in a very close future, subject to what they have discussed. It's also written under, several commissions report that this law has been reviewed. It is also a fact that the Capital Markets Board and several additional institutions have made a meeting with virtual asset service providers currently active in Turkey, some banks, and they got some feedback. So we are expecting these laws to come. And although there is no official draft going on, there are some unofficial drafts which has been published by several real persons, and we had the opportunity to read those drafts and have an idea about what to expect from the law. But again, this is very vague. We don't know if the text that we see will be the ones that will actually be enacted. So that's something that we will see, but I'll try to help you understand what the drafts that we're seeing, the unofficial drafts that we're seeing is saying, having the notes to all of the audience that this may not be the final version of the law which will be enacted.
I appreciate your insightful comments. I agree that Turkey's regulations around the cryptocurrencies are heading in the direction of the more organized and true frameworks that strike a balance between investor protection and innovation. So the upcoming question is that what impact will the new draft law have on cryptocurrency regulations?
Sure. So, although we don't know what is the last thing that will be enacted through the court, through the parliaments, basically not having a regulation and having everything on a gray area, I think has a very negative impact, especially for corporate requirement perspective. For large companies, for public companies, it creates a very big risk that they don't want to take and they don't want to invest in Turkey. So that's an important thing. I think having a regulation, if it's not very limited, will affect the Turkish market positively in any event. But what we're expecting from the current law is not to have a generic definition for the virtual assets, so that it'll probably say, very generically that virtual assets are based on blockchain systems, and it will have detailed terms relating to virtual asset service providers, which sometimes we call crypto exchanges. Of course, it's not only limited to crypto exchanges. There are a lot of other virtual asset services that has been provided under EU laws, for example. But we expect that mostly the two aspects will be regulated. One being how we keep those assets. So basically the custody services, and the second being the platform services, which is exchanges of these crypto assets between clients, sometimes with between virtual assets or virtual asset to fiat currencies such as Turkish lira. So that's what we expect a lot of regulation to come from. And there's two reasons for it. One is, again, the mentioned Financial Action Task Force, because under their recommendations, they're not only saying that, there should be some AML KYC compliance, but they're also saying that there should be, some kind of licensing or listing requirement. And Mehmet Şimşek, who is the minister, also predominantly talks about this and say that, okay, Turkey is in the gray list and we want to get Turkey out of this gray list. So that's why we want to comply with these requirements. And this is one of the requirements that we see as we're not perfectly compliant with. So they are trying to achieve that requirements. And that's why we also wait for a lot of regulations. There is a grandfathering term, which is the term used for these processes when a law is enacted, but not everything is regulated, right? So the law, the unofficial draft law, also refers a lot to the secondary legislation. So what we expect is the law to have a very generic terms, and then the secondary legislation to have more detailed terms around it. So the unofficial draft law, again, we don't know if that it will pass like that, has a term which suggests if you are currently active when the law is enacted, you can continue acting as a virtual asset service provider and the platforms. But if you're not active, you need to wait for the secondary legislation to come out, and then you need to have a license. So this will basically create a competitive advantage to any platform who's already working in Turkey. And it also created an incentive for anyone to, be active in Turkey before this law is enacted. This is not something that I love. I think, any law should give the same opportunities to the same players, because we don't have any time frame for enactment, because we don't see the official drafts before. I think it is not really fair for all the companies to be out of the market during this grandfathering regime, to be honest. But there is such a term, and let's see how that will enact it. So that may create a gap where the active market participants has a benefit in terms of competition. Having said this, if the licensing and the secondary legislation will be in a very short notice, that's not a problem. There is a 6-month time limitation. Let's see if they can be able to hold that. If that happens, that's great. But if the secondary legislation take a lot of time to enact, like 1 year, 2 years, then that will have a negative effect on the market. So we hope that the secondary legislation and licensing conditions will be very quick, and will not have a lot of entry barriers, because if they make like a very hard to get licenses, it will create very few players in the market, which is not good for competition.
Thank you for your valuable comments and predictions of the new draft law is much appreciated. It's clear that this regulation has the potential to revolutionize in the industry by bringing more security and clarity to the market, especially as you know, the tracking the transactions is so more important than the previous years. A critical aspect for the service providers as well as investors deal and making a deal and legitimate is so important. And also the next question is regarding to what predictions can we make for cryptocurrency regulations in Turkey post 2024 from a micro and macro perspective, because as you mentioned about before, the Switzerland and the other countries has already made a new legislation about the cryptocurrency and some stuff. And I'm so wondering about your predictions for the regulations in Turkey post 2024 as a micro and macro perspective.
Sure. I think, for micro, we don't know how this will be enacted, but as per the unofficial draft law, we see, for example, custody services, and we see a reference to banks or licensed institutions. So if, banking sector is very, very strong in Turkey, and we also have great fintech provision. So that's very interesting to see, actually. So what we will probably expect to see is if banks will be involved with it, and on an issue such as custody, there will be a lot of know-how that will be innovated. However, there is a concern both for like the custody services and the platform services, which is important to note. The unofficial draft that we see has very harsh terms for penalties, and for personal liability as well, and the liability of these virtual asset service providers. So the personal criminal charges are higher than any other regulation, which I think is not really fair. It is not okay to put these persons under liability. I understand that there is an incentive to protect consumers and customers and any people who are using these services, but it is not fair to treat them on a higher level than what banks are seeing or what the other capital markets instruments related companies are seeing. So that's, I believe, is something important. The second thing that we will see as a micro change, I think, it also creates a lot of liability for the crypto asset service, the virtual asset service providers and platforms, such as creating additional guidelines, having additional precautions, how they will contract it. So this is also important. So this means that the platforms, the ongoing platforms, will need to have a lot of work done with their lawyers and legal consultants, also with their compliance teams to abide by these laws. It would be great to have some kind of, reference term and adaptation term, and not to ask for them to adapt on day zero. But there will be a lot of changes that way as well. And I think third micro change that we will see is this law also gives a lot of importance to cyber attacks, and again, protection for pricing changes, but this is not something that we see a lot on the regulations on EU or other jurisdictions. So I would assume we'll probably need some kind of ease there to, make it sensible, because it's not sensible to say you're liable for everything in this market, which is very, very new and will of course have some problems at day zero. So we need to abide by that. But on the micro perspective, I think it may push smaller players out of the market in a short term. Again, in micro perspective, it may require a lot of legal compliance and some vague term. But in the macro perspective, and especially when the secondary legislation comes, and if it comes on a way that allow these virtual asset service providers to thrive and to innovate, I think in macro perspective that will create a more stable market, that will create a lot of opportunities, and that will create a lot of opportunities for foreign investors to invest in Turkey in a manner that they understand and they're comfortable with, because they know how the laws will work.
Yeah, thank you. This might have a big impact on the stability and growth of the Turkish market.
Yes, if the secondary legislation comes that way, not in a limited way. We hope for it.
We hope for it. And also, I think the regulations is waiting for the elections. Maybe there may be a surprise on April. What do you think about that? Also, the timing issues.
I really don't know. And that's a question I got asked a lot from clients as well. Mehmet Şimşek has noted before that, they want to enact it end of January. So we passed that deadline. Mm-hmm. But there is a financial action task force meeting scheduled for February, mid-February. So maybe that's the deadline that they're trying to reach at. And we have also seen under several tweets of different bureaucrats and, parliament members that mm-hmm. they have discussed this, and this will be enacted in the coming days. So, I don't think that we're looking for very long-term enactment, but also there is a lot going on with Turkish economy, and this may not be the priority, to be honest. So I don't know about the timing. If you asked me 2 weeks ago, I would say probably first week of February. But as we're reaching the first week of February, I am in a position to say I really, really don't know. But if there will be a timeline for it, I really wish, for any organization involved with this to have an official draft and to allow all market participants to see these drafts, because although there are meetings, it's not open to any potential investors, any market participants who may be looking at Turkish market and trying to understand what's happening. So it would be great to know this information. I also asked this to a member of the Capital Markets Board, a legal head of the Capital Markets Board on a conference. And she also responded as we're following the news. So they didn't give any hints on that either. So I really don't know. And I really don't want to make any assumptions at this point.
I appreciate your attention to the potential impacts and timing of the proposed legislation. And I want to continue with our last question. How will the cryptocurrency regulation draft law impact the Turkish market?
Yep, I think, I try to provide a general understanding of what I think will happen in the Turkish market. But again, I hope for it to bring more clarity on what's happening. There is also a lot of unsolved questions, like what will happen for DeFi, what will happen to NFT sales, what will happen to companies who are not actually platforms, but doing some auxiliary asset services, such as maybe providing a little bit part of it, or doing different procedures which is not involved a virtual asset per se, or a virtual assets which is similar to electronic money or real world assets. So we have a lot of questions that are not answered in this unofficial draft law, which I hope they will be answered as well, because we need a lot of clarity. There is a lot of also processes which are used by different parts in the world, and there is a lot of innovative products which Turkish platforms are not really trying to adapt to. And I understand, because there is a lot of gray area which we don't know how this will be adapted. And I think a problem with the current system is because there is no open legal text. Authorities such as central bank, capital markets board, or a banking regulatory and supervisory authority also doesn't want to give a lot of comments on this. So we actually don't know how the current laws will apply to crypto assets, and that creates also a lot of gray areas. I hope that with the start of this regulation, that issues will also be solved, and Turkey try to create an innovative environment for all participants, and Turkish users are not held back from any other citizens of other countries that can reach these products. I really understand that these are sometimes complex products, and consumers are users are not protected in many ways, but protection is not about limiting the use. Protection is about educating the users and having some rules that will protect them. So I hope that this is the path that we will also move forward.
Yeah, that's what we are trying to do here in Turkey, to educate everybody about not only about crypto, because crypto is the main asset of blockchain technology and it has a huge technology behind it. There is a lot beyond crypto, and we are trying to make the community understand this. Thank you for joining us, and thank you for all your answers. Aybar, would you like to say something?
Okay, I would like to say this last thing. I appreciate your attention to the potential impacts of the proposed legislation, and this law may have the potential to significantly impact the Turkish cryptocurrency market and create a more stable and established investment environment as a clean crypto ecosystem. As an EAK Digital team, thank you very much for participating in today's webinar and for your valuable contributions.
Thank you very much for having me here. It's great to talk to you.
Okay, and now we have the other valuable guest. Her name is Burçak Ünsal, is managing partner at Ünsal Law. Welcome, Burçak Ünsal. How are you?
Thank you very much, Aybars. It's great to be with you together tonight. I'd like to thank you, Didem and EAK, for this opportunity.
Many thanks for attending the valuable webinar today. And the first question for you, what are the anticipated regulations for crypto asset service providers?
Right. As you know, we've been anticipating a regulation in Turkey for crypto service providers for quite some time now. And finally, we understand that it is almost around the corner. And Mehmet Şimşek, the Minister of Treasury himself, actually declared that we could expect that very soon. And we are very excited about it. And we are excited about it not only because the market needed it, but also because Turkey has been in the grasp of a crypto frenzy for many years. And we have been losing the competitive edge to other countries, starting with the Emirates, Dubai, Malta, Cyprus, so on and so forth. But based on our market maturity, our market size, scalability, and number of people and the amount of money traded in the crypto industry in Turkey, Turkey has already been deserving a very well regulation. And now we understand that finally we will get rid of the ambiguity. We will be able to protect the consumer, protect the investor, and also provide clear guidelines for the ventures, for the hedge funds, for the exchanges, for custodian service providers, and what have you. So I believe that we have been waiting for too long, but finally we will get it. And with respect to what we can expect in the law, I would like to categorize it under 5 main topics. One of them is the categorization of the crypto assets itself. So for the first time in our legislation, we can expect that the security tokens will be available in Turkey. This is very important. I would like to draw your attention to the fact that I didn't start with the exchanges, because the exchanges have already been around in Turkey for too long. Actually, 4th oldest exchange in the world is in Turkey. And the problem with Turkey was the lack of categorization about the crypto assets themselves. So for the first time, our draft law, our bill, mentions about the availability of the security tokens. This means that there will also be utility tokens, which will not be subject to the regulations. And it talks about crowdfunding with tokens. So these are very promising prospects because we will be able to rely on added value fintech services. We will be able to finance our ventures, startups, our projects, social projects, economical, financial projects, and hopefully we will be able to provide derivative services, so on and so forth. And we will be able to issue security tokens, which means that as long as you are registered and as long as the relevant measures are taken, we will be able to offer tokens and crypto assets 100% capital market investment intermediaries or investment products. So these are very important things. And of course, the second thing we can talk about is the service providers. Service providers are also divided into 3 main categories. One of them are exchanges. The other one is custodian services. And another one is wallet services. These are very sophisticated differentiations, and we welcome them. Because as you know, although wallet services can be provided like B2C for everybody, but custodian services are much more important with higher technical, financial, administrative, and legal compliance requirements. And you offer these services to corporate investors, to hedge funds, to other types of funds, assets of which are constituted of crypto assets. So these are the things that we should welcome, and these are the ones that are making me the most excited.
Yeah. Also, I have one more question about
Yes,
those
please.
utility tokens. What do you think about NFTs?
Yes.
Because we
as
also
you know,
use NFTs for utilities and
That's-
loyalties and etc. So will the NFTs be the part of the regulation, or the regulations are only coming for crypto and service providers? What do you think
Yes.
about that?
Sure, thank you very much. I think NFTs can be addressed separately from utility tokens and the security tokens, and I think it will be addressed separately because there are things that can overlap with utility and security tokens about NFTs, but there are also very different aspects of NFTs. For instance, being unique, only one, and being subject to copyright. For example, a utility token or a security token can never be subject to copyright because it's not a art. It's not a piece of art, or it's not a piece of our, let's say, intelligence activities of our brain, of our mind. So the NFTs, only one single NFT can be one different asset class, can be separately copyrighted, and some utilities can be attributed to it. In other words, you can buy the NFT, which is on its own right a separate art and subject to copyright. And in addition to obtaining or purchasing an NFT, you can also obtain utilities, whatever utility that may be. For example, hanging out with the artist, or hanging out in different exhibitions around the world, or as long as your imagination allows, you can attribute many other utilities. And because of these aspects, it should be separately addressed. But I would like to just make a disclaimer here. Regardless of what we say about NFTs, they can still fall under the category of security token. Because if we are promoting it as an investment object, as an investment contract, and if we are pooling revenue resources like interest or maybe appreciation of our company or appreciation of some other things based on our efforts, not the effort of the artist or not on the effort of the purchaser, then regardless of what we call it, it can still be a security token. So as long as it is not a security token, it can be a utility token and an NFT together. It can be both at the same time. But if it has the aspects of a capital market instrument, an investment contract, an investment instrument, then it can fall under the category of a security token and an NFT. So the issuers, the initial coin offerers must be very careful about these aspects.
Thank you.
Sure, my
Thank
pleasure.
you. I really appreciate this.
And thank you. I appreciate you providing information about the new regulations and some different aspects of the utility tokens and NFTs. We are still wondering about the new regulations aspect of the NFTs and utility tokens and so on. And another question for you, how will the upcoming regulations affect the operations of CASPS?
Okay, you mean the crypto service providers, right?
Right, yeah, it is.
Yeah, crypto asset service providers. Yeah, sure. Normally, as we have been reporting for some time now, already existing crypto asset service providers will continue the business as usual. In other words, if, let's say, I will give some names just for the convenience, like Bybit, BTC Türk, Probit, whatever out there, if they have already been in the market and if they have already been providing their services to the customers or the people in Turkey, the fact that the law will be enacted or the regulation will be out, it will not force them to halt, to stop their business. They will be able to continue doing their business. They will be able to continue giving their services. However, there will be a grace period. There will be an amount of time defined by the legislation for them to apply for the license and obtain a license. So with the new regulation, we believe that there will be minimum 2 types of service licenses. One of them is for the exchanges, and with becoming an exchange, you will also be providing wallet services, B2C wallet services. And number 2, custodian services. And when I talk about custodian services, we have to make a differentiation between mere wallet services and custodian services. Because when I talk about custodian services, I'm talking about holding onto the crypto assets of corporate clients, like let's say Tesla or banks or hedge funds or financial investors. So we are talking about a huge amount of value. And also with respect of crypto scalability, the number and the diversity of the crypto assets will also be huge. So there will be extra insurance requirements, extra cyber resilience and cyber protection requirements. Maybe the people who give those services will give added value, financial investment advisory. So these will be subject to one set of license, and regular exchanges will be subject to a different set of license, which actually makes sense because the types of the services are different. But if the crypto asset service providers are already active in Turkey, they can still continue their business, and they will have the grace period to review the law, to talk with the regulatory agencies, and make their application to obtain the license. And a license requirement will definitely be there.
And the last question for you, and how should the crypto asset service providers, customer contracts, and trading platforms be regulated?
Yeah. One of the most important aspects of this is, of course, investor protection and customer protection. And the regulation itself will not be indicating specific provisions for the customer contracts, or there will not be specific requirements with respect to the customer contracts, but the trading platforms will definitely be regulated, and they will have to provide their services with an arm's length contract to the customer. What I mean by this is the time of the transaction. If there will be a problem in the transaction, what law and what court will have the jurisdiction to hear about the customer complaints and the investor complaints, a differentiation between regular customers and sophisticated customers, or a differentiation between customers and sophisticated investors. And there will be, of course, some customer or consumer law related disclaimers, regulations, and provisions that will affect the trading platforms. There will be KVKK, the privacy issues and the data protection matters. There will be internet related services related provisions in the contracts. And of course, if there are two one-sided provisions in the customer trading contracts, then I believe that the consumer courts or the relevant courts with competence, or the competent authorities, will be able to overrule such provisions in the contracts. That's why at the time of application for the license, all these policies, the privacy policies, AML policies, CTF policies, will have to be reviewed. Best practices should be employed, and an arm's length trading contract has to be in place with respect to the crypto asset service providers.
Thank you. Thank you for all this valuable information you gave us, Burçak.
Thank you very much for this opportunity.
And on behalf of EAK Digital Global and Turkey teams, we would like to thank you very much for participating in this webinar with us today.
Pleasure is mine. Have a nice day and see you soon.
And now another valuable guest of ours, the Mindstone the Blockchain Labs CEO of Tansel Kaya is among us. Welcome, and how are you?
Thanks a lot, Aybars. Thanks a lot for having me at this meeting. So it's my pleasure to talk about the upcoming regulations. And then so we are pretty excited. We've been waiting for this for quite some time. And then let's see if I'll be able to contribute to the discussion.
And thank you again. And the first question for you, and how is Turkey approach to cryptocurrency generally shaping up?
So if you look at, like, we've been always talking that there's a huge group of people actively using cryptocurrencies here in Turkey, and this is no surprise. So we are a very adaptive community, and then a very young community. And at the same time, we've been dealing with high levels of inflation for quite some time. So we are used to using foreign currencies like the dollar or the euro to prevent the loss of purchasing power, or investing in gold or other forms of commodities. So we are used to that. And the country quickly embraced crypto. And then we've been talking about like 10, 11 million people actively having accounts and then having owned crypto at some time, which is 1/8 of our population. And we realized it's not just like the young population, it's just like cross-cut of the society from different political views, religious views, and lifestyles and ages who are investing in crypto. And a large group of these people are using stable coins, tokens like Tether actively, because it's very convenient. You can easily buy it, you can hold it against the dollar, and then if need be, you can just transfer it to some other place. So people are actively using that. And we have multiple exchanges here in Turkey, and then we've been looking forward to this regulation for quite some time. And I think it's a good step that we are regulating the crypto space after Europe, but before some other countries.
And I appreciate your thoughtful reply and regarding the Turkey caution attitude to cryptocurrencies, which takes into account both the potential and the risk here, your viewpoint. And the next question for you, how the current regulations affect the cryptocurrency trading and aspect of the trading side and the investors? Yeah.
So we can say right now we have de facto rules affecting the crypto trading. So what happens, each exchange is actively reporting users' transactions to the FATF representative, the Turkish institution called MASAK, who is actively prohibiting money laundering and then financing of terrorism. So that's there. We have this case where for some of your losses or like your debt, it's possible that the police force or the judicial system can freeze your assets in these exchanges. That's also possible. They can seize the assets. That's actively going on. And we have seen cases where when people lose their lives, their descendants can claim the cryptocurrencies. So there are some de facto rules which are currently applied to crypto, and it's considered property. So any kind of theft is considered like property of theft and penalized accordingly. And then, as some of our listeners would remember, we had like one case where one particular cryptocurrency exchange, Todex, had problems. Their CEO left with customer funds, and after he was arrested, he was sentenced to jail for like almost like thousands of years, which is a huge penalty for this type of crime. And then, so these practical applications are there, but other than that, it's very free. So it's very unregulated. All kinds of tokens can be bought and sold. And then we have even physical shops where you can present your cryptocurrency, get cash in return. You only have to present your ID. And so it's very free, but there will be some regulations with the coming change of law.
And I think same with you. And it is evident that although the existing restrictions are intended to protect the markets, there are some issues that must be carefully considered. And what is the central bank's current stance on the cryptocurrencies and how does it impact the market?
So we in Turkey currently we have a regulation, like an issued executive order, so to say, by the central bank that prevents citizens from making payments using cryptocurrencies. So there's some debate whether the central bank has the authority to do this restriction, but then in practice, people are obeying this law, and then they're not using cryptocurrencies for making payments, at least in exchanges, their receipts are issued, not formal payments are using cryptocurrencies. So other than that, the central bank is trying to create a central bank digital currency. Actively, they're testing it. We know it has elements of blockchains on it, so it will have some level of privacy. So that's an interesting approach. They're actively seeking this project because it has many benefits. It will reduce the amount of load on the central bank in minting those currencies, transferring them, and also increases their seigniorage income by making everything digital and at the same time making everything more easily traceable. So that's the central bank's situation. And as for the previous question about the investors' situation, we have seen many cases where there were crypto heists. The cryptocurrencies were stolen from users, and users had very limited resources to defend their rights because they're using external cryptocurrency exchanges located in different countries. They're having a very hard time freezing stolen accounts or communicating with these external exchanges there. So, and I'm hoping with the coming regulations, this will also change a little bit.
Okay, so what do you think? Will Turkish people will be able to do the payments with crypto after the regulations? From your perspective, do you have a prediction about how long time will it take for us to legally own and invest and spend in crypto here in Turkey?
So what's happening is the financial system, like banks, all these companies involved in stock or like for exchange of stocks. So these intermediaries, brokers, they were not allowed to trade in crypto. So they've been banned from offering these services. But now with the new regulation, banks will be able to custody crypto. So you will be able to deposit Bitcoins and get your Bitcoins back later on. So that's coming up. And they're interested in opening up their own exchanges, maybe do some sort of a fractional reserve system and offer credits against crypto collaterals. That's coming up. So these are interesting changes. And once that happens, crypto will become an essential part of the financial system. And then you'll suddenly start AML and KYC will become almost automatic, because bank account owners are always controlled. They are the banked. And they are at the same time under scrutiny for all of their transactions. Everything's monitored. Who is sending whom, what amount, is it taxed, etc. So once that happens, it becomes easier to make payments with cryptocurrencies. And then we've recently heard MetaMask is partnering with Visa, and then they will enable credit card holders to make payments with their cryptocurrencies. I'm sure these type of changes will quickly come to Turkey as well, and Turkish citizens will be able to make payments. And then my estimation is in about 6 months to 1 year, we'll have the secondary adjustments to this law, the upcoming law. And I guess after 1 year, we'll see payment companies applying to offer these services, and they will be the ones who will be providing the service.
Okay, there. And also the last question for you. We are so curious about your opinions on ROIs and relation with and correlation with the regulations of the ROIs.
So this has been going on for us for quite some time, but it's relatively new for the government. But we realize they're all also excited about this. And then it's very easy to regulate, because right now all kinds of securities are regulated by the SEC equivalent SPK in Turkey. And then there's a central record institution called MKK in Turkey, which keeps track of who has which stock. And all kinds of securities are monitored there. And now the new regulation is telling us that it will be possible to issue securities not only through the MKK's electronic system, but also on the blockchain. And this will open up all kinds of opportunities. And as we said, these securities are assets that are not freely traded. Okay, so in order to own a security, you have to be somebody with like a background check. So you have to pass these KYC AML checks. Then the asset has to be registered by the security authority, in our case, the SPK. And then during the trade, you again check parties, make sure that they're valid, they can do that trade. So for example, I cannot trade my stocks to a North Korean citizen, for example. That won't work. Or similarly, these transactions are monitored for manipulation. So what kind of manipulation? Say I'm going to sell you my stock, and this creates some sort of conflict. They will prevent me from doing that trade. The exchange is also monitored. And as you know, the Turkish stock market has all these circuit breakers. If the value of the stock goes below some level or goes up some level, it stops. Trading stops for some time, and then there's a limit how much it can go up in one particular day. These are all the things that are affecting securities. Now, if you just apply it to blockchains, and then if you restrict these smart contracts governing these tokens, you can also do that. So it's not hard, but at the same time, it's very convenient. You can keep track of who owns what kind of stock. These things operate 24/7 over holidays. This is the benefit of crypto. And then we know they're like really good, reliable systems. So as long as consensus is reached, you can just write these records on the blockchain, and people can rely on those, on that information. So I think soon we'll have all kinds of securities being brought to blockchain space, which will be like commodities. So we'll have gold and platinum, and even food items like wheat, barley, corn, or hazelnut. Hazelnut is like an important product in Turkey. 7% of hazelnuts in the world are produced in Turkey. So they will be brought to the blockchain. Then we'll have financial instruments like government bonds. We'll have collectibles. So like some company owes another company some amount of money, but has problem collecting it. It might be tokenized and then issued as a token on the blockchain, and people can buy it and trade it. All kinds of like interesting projects, like I don't know, like baseball cards or like collectible cars, anything people can buy and sell. And then later on, maybe like concert tickets will come, parking spots, anything, or large scale government projects like water dams or bridges. They will be tokenized and then funded similar to an ICO. So it's like lots of opportunity happening there. And then I'm glad the Turkish government realized the opportunity there, following the advice of Europe. Europe is leading in this space. And then we see lots of activity in the US as well. The CEO of Blackstone, Larry Fink, was explicitly saying everything will be tokenized soon, and this is an evolution of markets. Everything will be represented by tokens. So I think Turkey is also taking a good step there, but then this might take some time. From what I understand, the teams at SPK are saying, okay, the legal is ahead of us in terms of this, so it will be legally possible, but we have to first understand and regulate this. But with the increased demand for this field, I think it will be very popular soon.
Yeah, so we can say that a promising future is waiting for us, for Turkish community.
Yes.
In
So
terms
like
of crypto,
everything else.
That's great news.
Yes, everything else is like little restrictive. It's regulating, but this real world assets thing, tokenization, I think it's very progressive.
That there is a very big opportunity ahead with real world assets. I strongly believe that. Thank you for being with us. Thank you.
As the EAK Digital team, we would like to thank you for participating in our webinar today and for your valuable contributions.
It was my pleasure.
Yeah, thank you. And we wish you a good evening and hope to see you soon. Yeah.
Thanks a lot. Take care.
Yes, right now we will continue our webinar with another valuable conversation with the prominent another speaker, and he works as a founding lawyer at the Karataş and Partners. Welcome, the Atakan Karataş. And how are you? How is it going?
Hi, everyone. Firstly, thank you for this event and organization. It's very important for crypto ecosystem on Turkey. And also we are waiting a regulation nowadays. So it's very beneficial and it's very important for our ecosystem. Thanks again.
Yeah, well, welcome. And the first question for you, what steps can be taken in terms of the taxation and investor protection in Turkey? Turkey is the cryptocurrency market.
Actually, taxation is very depend on Turkish commercial rules. How can we say? We can say two different income model or tax model. First of all, income taxes, and second one, special taxes. It's depend on sector or depend on something else. And generally, in Turkey, we have to create taxation policies. Clarify taxation policies for cryptocurrency, specifying whatever they fall under income tax or capital gains tax. There are different issues because income tax, including if you profit with mining, if you profit with something else, yes, you have to normally give taxes for government. But special taxes is different issue. Why? Maybe a government apply or accept to different taxes system. Why? Because in US, in Japan, or in some countries, they accept different models. Sometimes they are accepted until $1,000 or $10,000. You have to pay No, zero. But after 10,000 or something else, you have to pay 20%. In Turkey, I think, in my opinion, we will accept not income tax model. We will accept, I think, capital gains tax. Well, why? Because cryptocurrency, because in Turkish ecosystem and Turkish population is very important for cryptocurrency ecosystem. If I'm wrong, please you say it. In Turkish population, number one on Europe, I think. And second step, educational initiatives. If you want to be part of this ecosystem, you have to educate about this system. Because if you don't have an education system about cryptocurrency, Web3 or something else, you can't understand and you can determine or something else. If we have a good education system for new technologies, Turkey's software engineer project. Also, maybe they can start with a new project about Web3 and cryptocurrency. And actually, I agree with blockchain because blockchain is main issue for other systems. Maybe we can understand easily. And third part, regulatory oversight is very important because in Turkey, I think we couldn't catch the technology with our legal issues. It's very important point because in Turkey, unfortunately, we don't have a startup regulation at now. We don't have a it's named e-commerce regulation, but we don't have a including too much details regulations. So we are very slow about this issue. In the world, we will also every time we have to catch Japan, US, UK. They have regulations and also other points. Investor right protection. In Turkey, SPK we say. Nowadays, every company opening to new sectors, opening to communities, opening to share of to selling or buying very quickly. But I think we are not good at investor right protection because in US or in UK, investors have too much right. But in Turkey, unfortunately, we don't have too much right to protection some risks. Maybe TODEX, maybe Çiftlik Bank. In Turkey, unfortunately, have a scam project. So when you coming to Turkey, you have to be careful. Why? Because nowadays governments observe too clearly to clear this reputation. And we have to comply with AML and KYC process. It's according in MiCA or AML regulations. But if we want to follow global trends, we have to comply with AML and KYC compliance process. End of this presentation or reportage interview, I will share a checklist for compliance to understand clearly. And after this, transparent reporting. It's very important because if you have any transaction, government or some authorities in government side, I have to follow your transaction. But cryptocurrency ecosystem, I don't want your follow. We say so. If we want to peace, if you want to be mutual points, government don't say I want to observe you, and cryptocurrency ecosystem don't say please don't follow me. We have to do find center point. It's very important point. We have to find best tax policies because Turkey at now green list about economy and Dubai green list. Chinese don't allow to crypto transaction. Okay, when I talk with my Chinese friends, they really wondering to Turkey because they are saying your location is very good. You have and this time they called yes 90 million people. Yesterday they said, and you are also
We are 90
all
million.
trades.
Wow.
Yes, at now, yes.
Okay.
Yesterday they said.
Getting more crowded and
Actually,
crowded every day.
and also when we talk, they wonder Turkey. Why? When I ask, because you in Deep Connect also they like and when we are going where we when we went to Chinese friends near Chinese friends to Thailand, they love Turkey, and but they are saying you also you are doing very big mistake. Why you don't have a regulation? Why you are not friendly? Yes.
Just ask
When
them why you don't have a regulation and why is crypto forbidden there. I was working for Gate.io as a CMO and Gate
oh
Turkey
yes.
before EAK. So I'm a bit experienced with exchange, more experience with exchange. So they are not even allowed to work for crypto in China.
Yes, yes, you are right. And also, Chinese government, supply Turkey because Chinese government don't allow to transaction. And my friends coming to Turkey at now, and they wonder what is the KVKK in the privacy data. They hearing some things, but they don't know. How can we comply with Turkish law? Is Turkish law near to European law or UK law or US law? No, it's very different because Turkish law is very complicated, and when we are establish Sweden law and French law and Italian law, it's very I say it like this style karma. I use this sentence when I explain something else. Turkey regulation is very different, yes. But how can you do? Firstly, you are wondering tax policies, but you have to know in Turkey, because we also are doing every time crisis. Every Turkish people very strong about crisis, but I don't think maybe Chinese they want to try. You have to comply with firstly regulations. How can you comply? You have to follow. You have to follow. You have to find CMO, CFO, CLO. They are the best point because you have to do partnerships because they are following to regulation. In Turkey is very quickly, not like China, not like UK. Maybe you know about ads regulation. Maybe attorney don't know. You will say, I'm CMO, but I know regulation is coming. It's about advertise. Or financial, if you think, taxation limits, it's reduce or increase. You have to find a very good partner, firstly. Second one, you have to comply with tax regulations, but how? In US, notice to government, but in Turkey, governments or finance authorities looking your transactions. So when you establish any company, you have to be legal. It's very important point. Maybe you can try OTC, you can try something else, but first time it's public. Yeah, okay. First time and every time you have to be legal. Because Turkey regulation, OTC, okay, we call kapalı çarşı, but it's different. When you're first time, you have to be fully legal and transparent reporting and collaboration with global standards and also local standards and the continuance with monitoring and adaptation and cybersecurity measures because Turkish hackers is very strong also and public awareness campaigns. It's very important and it's including CMOs.
I am sorry interrupting to you, and yes, thank you for explaining these things. And I think the long-term growth of the Turkish crypto and the fintech industry may depend on the strong investors protection laws and effective taxation strategies that will ensure the investor confidence and compliance.
Thank you for all the information you gave. And also, I am really, really curious about the checklist that you will provide for us and for our clients, that how to be compliance ready. And this is also another very important point. So would you like to tell us more about that?
First point, tax compliance. Tax compliance is very important because if you want to come Turkey, you have to comply with tax compliance and the AML and KYC process. I will explain AML and KYC process, no problem, but I will explain my checklist. Why KYC and AML process is very important? Because AML Article 4 and the MiCA 9 to 17, they're also including some details about AML and KYC process. Legal frameworks and authorization is very important. It's also including Turkish regulations. Maybe I didn't remember, but if I remember, I will explain. And data security is very important. Why? Because GDPR also from Europe, KVKK also from Turkish citizenships, ICO also from UK, CCPA from US, and some regulations. Every countries want to protect data security is very important. Transparency and reporting is very important because every government every government want to follow KYT, know your transaction. They want also. And the account operation and transaction limits is very important. In according to MiCA Article 9, they including clear policies regarding failed account operation. They import fair is import for them. And customer support services is very important. We explained about something for reputations. Also, we explained about something potential risk. Account funds and cold storage is very important according to MiCA 15 because if you use cold storage, you have to comply with MiCA principles. Is very important point. Security audits and monitoring is very important because I said also GDPR and some technical issues, including technical principles to avoid hacking or cyber attacks. And the business partners and third-party service providers, you have to be balanced with your partners because for example if you are going to court you have to deal with attorney to represent to you, or if Masak called to you or some finance authority called to you, you have to work with financial account manager. They have to represent to you. And AML, it's very important point. How can we say AML? Anti-money laundering. And the customer identification, we say also KYC, It's also including AML, including KYC, Article 10. And what is the know your customer? You have to know your customer identification and some details because your customer share with you some details and some personal data, and you have to check is this data is legal or compliant or true. You have to check. It's also very general principles, and also in KVKK, in GDPR. Also, it's like same. And risk assessment is very important. AML Article 9 or 19. Risk assessments, it's provide to care about investor rights. Is very important point. And AML process, policies and procedures and principles, you have to comply with almost Article 11. And the customer education, it's also like KVKK, it's also GDPR, because every regulations want to, people know to me, every regulations want to do this. High risk customers, because if you are working with high risk customers, you have to do your critics or SWOT analysis, your crisis plan. And termination of business relationships is very important when you are doing partnerships. Some third parties is very important because they have also comply with some regulations. It's very important. If you will working with some media agency, this media agency have to know if I said the most, it's not legal. If I said yes, it's good. If I said better than ABC, it's very important. For example, in Turkey, if we say the best crypto platform, it's not true. It's not legal. You can be you can across with penalties. But you can say we are something as platform.
As good
We
as
provide,
we are,
yeah,
as good as them. We are as good as
yeah,
them. We are one of the best. We are one of the reliable ones. And also here in Turkey, the
yeah.
brands, the companies
Or
can
it,
challenge each other.
it
You don't
yeah,
have to be penalized by government. A brand, a
yeah,
company can challenge you in court because of you
yeah.
saying the best, like that. So
It's
yeah,
very
you
important,
have
and
to watch about all about these regulations and everything,
yeah,
especially when it comes to crypto.
yeah.
It is so
And also
important.
some crypto project saying we are better than this. It's unfair in Turkey. It's because they can open a case or lawsuit to you. It's very easily, and you can't use this brand trademark. It's very important points. And if we say about the MiCA regulation, and also we can say again KYC, because MiCA Article 9 also including KYC. And second one, determination of beneficial ownership is it's very important for KYC also. Reporting suspicious transaction from AML, and risk assessments also very important for MiCA. Staff training, very different point from AML, because AML not including too much staff training. What means this point? If you are working with some staffs, they have to know. Also, they have to comply with transaction, also MiCA and AML, and also in Turkish, if you are boss, you are responsible your employer. It's like this. And also it's very important point, I think I have to say, we have a checklist about Turkey general compliance. When you are coming to Turkey, you have to be careful about this. Privacy and data protection. It's about Turkish personal data protection. Consumer protection and rights. It's about consumer protection law in Turkish. Contractual agreements and legal documents. It's about Turkish commercial code and civil code. For example, we explained about unfair situation. Cyber security measures. And we have regulations about cyber security law and criminal code, because some hack or cyber attacks, including criminal law. And we said advanced marketing regulations, like for example, because also in Turkey have a regulations unfair commercial practice. Intellectual property rights, it's very important. Some platforms they are really forgetting to taking some brand or trademark. When they are coming Deeponek, what did you do? You are coming Turkey and you didn't take any brand? Are you sure? It's ocean, like including some sharks. It's very dangerous things. Competition law is very important. Electronic transaction and signatures. Also, we have a very good regulations for quick and easy transaction. E-signature is very important to applying something else. Also, okay, we are saying some things, but we are very good about some things. Cross-border transaction is very important, because if you are doing any meeting, it have to be legal. It has to be legal. Cryptocurrency and ICO regulations. Yes, we don't have a regulation yet, but we have a rules. You can't buy this glass with crypto, but also you can be join of some crypto platforms. No problem. Anti-money laundering, it's very important. It's we said this interview or something else. We said we called MASAK. It's equal with anti-money laundering authorization in Turkey. Tax compliance, I said, Turkish tax regulation is it's very, I think if you ask what is the complicated regulation from Turkey, I have to say you tax regulations is very hard. And you have to work with professionals. Environment, health and safety regulations. Why? If you came to Turkey, you have also some employers, so you have to be comply with some employee rights regulations and something else. Corporate governance, capital markets, and something else. Export control laws. It's also, if you are doing trade and physical trade, you have to be careful about this. And also, it's very important point, payment services and financial regulations. Also, we have we don't have yet some crypto regulations, but we are very good about bank regulations. Also, in Turkish bank ecosystem is very strong. Payment and electronic money institutions law is very important, and we can say like this. And also, we will share. You can check, and you can find your score. That's all.
Yeah. I totally agree with you that our banking system and regulation on classical finance is really strong here in Turkey. Maybe just following the same path for crypto will easy everything. We will see.
And thank you for joining our
It's
webinar
my
today.
pleasure.
Yes, today there is a lot of talk about how the Turkey is at important point in the process of the regulation cryptocurrencies. Our experts have given us a lot of useful information and predictions that helps us see how the landscape is changing and what problems are ahead. And we want to thank our panelists for their helpful comments and for taking part. This is exciting and always changing field. Stay tuned for news, developments, and don't forget to subscribe to our EAC TV YouTube channel. We look forward to seeing you at our next webinar. See you again.